Hot take. Superhero Senki's uber attempt at being meta makes it suffer as a film. Since Kiva, the concept of crossover movies between writers has been pretty much an annualized thing, and since Decade, crossovers between Super Sentai and Kamen Rider has been a semi-reoccurring thing as well, especially with the introduction of Superhero Tyson with Kamen Rider Forze. That leads us to Superhero Senki. This movie serving more as a Kamen Rider Saber story than on the Zenkaiger side of things. The story in itself has a basis of meta-commentary which has been overused, at least in my opinion. Especially since we just had meta-commentary with Over Quartzer. Like, anyone remember this gem of a line? Side note, Issa really loves being a villain, huh? He was also one of the heads of Shocker in Kamen Rider the first movie. He also gave us this gem of a music video. Back to Superhero Senki. So now is where I give pretty much a bit of a commentary with a little bit of my insights going into it, so here we go. The movie begins when movie-specific villain infiltrates hidden books because Saber, and amassed in there is the chronicles of every Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. Once again, setting up the narrative that every show is its own contained story / universe. Yeah, we get that. You've been beating us with that drum since Decade. So meanwhile, in the world of Saber, is he wearing a fucking cowbell?
You're gonna want that cowbell!
Also, what the fuck are those pants? The blazer color combo with the dress shirt? You see this? This is why I'm struggling through Saber. That and like awful green screen use. I'm sure that's not going to be in this movie. Right? So anyway, in the world of Saber, they get a book of Zenkaiger. Meanwhile, in Zenkaiger world, they get the book of Saber, which causes world-swapping shenanigans to ensue. It's here that we get introduced to a boy who loves to draw, and not in a Tezuka-esque style. Odd, but okay. Also, his pen is super effective against foes. Kaito from Zenkaiger gets taken to a library place from Saber, and holy shit, Saber's got a large ass cast. What the fuck is this show? How do you balance so many characters in one show and not have anyone die? I guess I should watch Saber. The villain of the movie makes a Kamen Rider Saber enemy that looks like Zenkaiger of Zenkaiger, and the Zenkaiger enemy that looks like Saber. You know, your typical crossover movie thing. He then intertwines the varieties of stories with actual books. Toma, Kamen Rider Saber, and his mismatched folks get taken to the story of 8 Samurais. Kaito and his crew get taken to Journey of the West. It's here that we get expected cameos for these movies. See, when Sentai and Kamen Rider introduces characters that only exist as suits, such as like the majority of the Q Ranger cast, or the Taros from Kamen Rider Den-O, then it's just the easiest fucking thing to cross over because it's cheaper than getting back to previous actors. But it's just a little too much. We do get some actual crossovers later on, but this becomes another movie that heavily features Den-O. That's it. I'm making a fucking Den-O video. I gotta air out my frustrations on that one. So yeah, Toma and the gang, in their story, encounter Sho Renpo and Raptor from Q Ranger. Also, wait, isn't Raptor voiced by Mao Ichimichi? Why don't we get a Gokai Yellow cameo? They later meet Doggy Kruger. We don't get a real cameo until later when we run into Chiaki Shinken Green from Zenkaiger and Shigeru Kirame Blue from Kiramanger. Actual people! Also, we get Aruto. Kamen Rider 01 shows up being extra with his character.
Hot
with Kaito and his crew running into Oma-Zi-O, and then this becomes a Kamen Rider Den-O movie. With Owner making an appearance. But sadly, no Rina Akiyama, Naomi, Mana-chan from Agito, Miss Ass Japan 2007. Look it up for research. You can thank me later. So after the lack of ass, we get some more Den-O action when Z-O himself, Sogo, shows up and transforms into disgusting looking Grand Z-O. God, I hate this form so much. So clearing out the stories that there are and ends up converging them into, I don't know, the real world? Some fucking world. Look, it's that cliffside area that they film like 60% of their footage in. Add like the 20% of Tokyo Dome, the 10% of that one abandoned warehouse, and 10% other. I'm not the only one that notices this stuff, right? Anyway, they confront movie-specific villain, only for Shotaro to hate his drawings and rip them up, to the point of making every single character disappear. It's then that we get Green Screen Exposition for 7 minutes and 50 seconds. And this does nothing for me. And it probably had me rolling my eyes so much during the initial viewing that I got vertigo. Look, I guess this is really Saber-centric. So I guess I should watch Saber to get this. Hey, at least he's looking fresh in that white suit, and so is everybody else. Keitaro out here making somebody's laundry looking white. That's a Fies reference. Go watch Fies. Anyway, Toma being the writer that he is, and that's writer, not rider, motivates Shotaro to just create what he wants, and thus breaking out of their metaverse of fake story. So it is then that Shotaro reveals his drawings, showcasing off Skullman. Oh wait, they don't acknowledge that? They aren't even gonna mention that it was Ishinomori's son that, you know, brought a grasshopper home, and that's how we got Hopperman / Okay. I guess I'm just too much of a super fan to get sucked out of the moment, but okay, I'll indulge. So he shows off his drawings of Kamen Rider, or rather Kamen Rider Ichigo as he would later come to get known as, and Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger, which sparks their grand introduction. And hey, did they redo Ichigo's design to be a little bit more leathery? Nice. Actually, no, I think they did that in one of the previous films as well. There's too many films now. There's too many crossover films now. It's getting crazy. Ichigo and Aka Ranger face off against the bad guys while spawning all the Kamen Riders and Red Sentai. Wait, where's Aka Red? Bruh, where's Aka Red? So they spawn these guys to fight, and that's when we get the usual movie roll call. And holy fuck, Saber's got a lot of writers. How do they have a roll call that's longer than Sentai? What the fuck is this show? Look, there's only like 2 Kamen Riders that I've never watched past episode 2. And that's Saber and Hibiki. But, what is this? It's then that we get our big fight, and the fight is a little awkward because They spam the logos of each show along with each corresponding red Sentai or Kamen Rider, but the camera pans are usually so far away that the action is virtually dismissible. And then there's the dialogue. They have almost every single one of them say their catchphrase or something akin to it. And of course, it's not voiced by the original actors, so the moment is lost on me. It's then that Zenkaiger and Saber combine to give Saber a nice new... It's just a kit bash. Alright. The last 5 minutes of the movie are literally the best part of the film. It's no secret that the kid in this movie is meant to be Shotaro Ishinomori. So when Kamen Rider Ichigo goes back to being Hongo Takashi, and it is Segata Sanshiro, I mean, Hiroshi Fujioka-san playing him, saying how much he missed Ishinomori. Look, it got me. Or maybe it's the fact that I was also drinking some red wine at the time. No, I'll chuck it up to the emotion. But then Hongo says this line. Yeah, but, you know, Sentai has been ongoing, while Kamen Rider is like Japanese Doctor Who. It suffered so many cancellation attempts, other attempts at reboots, ended in '89, had to go through movies to be a thing in the 90s, and it took the 2000 series to reboot things and get them where they are now. I just made a Doctor Who reference in a Kamen Rider video. I've always wanted to do that. So look, this movie, I didn't like it that much. It's a C. Let me explain. Everyone seems so hyped about this movie, but I don't quite understand it. These crossover movies feel virtually weightless now, as they have no real bearing on the overall narrative of each respective show. And for those attributing it to the Ishinomori tribute, here we go. It's called Let's Go Kamen Riders. Ah, fuck, it's another Den-O movie. Also, another wasted opportunity, because we didn't have Shadow Moon in this movie at all. You know Kintaro's is voiced by the same guy who voices Shadow Moon, right? Black Sun, Hype Train, Choo Choo. Look, it's cool if you absolutely love this movie. I welcome the debate on it, but not everyone, even if you are a big Rider fan, can be positive about everything that there is out there. I try and be subjective as I can with my reviews, knowing that this is ultimately a Japanese children's show that I've been watching for like the last 19 years. I just feel we've had better crossover movies before, and the narrative in this, you know, kind of ignores a lot of Ishinomori's life and influences that led us to Kamen Rider. I get what they were trying to do, but then there's also things such as the interactions between the veterans and the current guys just felt off because they were ultimately playing fictional characters being fictional characters. The effects were probably the cheapest that I have seen, but of course I will say that they probably had filming restrictions. But the green screen exposition leading up to the final battle was completely lost on me, as I kept being distracted by the set's movement, or rather the lack thereof. But also, look, just because I didn't like this movie shouldn't stop you from enjoying it or even speaking your mind about something. We all have a right to think differently than others. So if you agree with my thoughts, cool. Disagree, also cool. I welcome your additional perspectives and thoughts. So that's really it for what I have to say about Superhero Senki. I feel a lot of people were overhyped about this movie just because maybe it was their first crossover movie that they could actually interact with the community and watch in one place. But I've been there. I've done that. So it's not my first rodeo when it comes to discussing crossover movies or movies in general with the community. So, sound off in the comments. What did you think about Superhero Senki? Did it live up to your hype levels? What did you like or didn't like? Don't feel ashamed to have your thoughts be heard. If you stuck around this long, thank you. If not, I bet you're gonna hit that dislike button ASAP and not even make it to this point of it. Anyway, that's it for me, and I will catch y'all, maybe, on my next video. Until then, bye.
ズバッと解決